Modern mothers often feel that they are supposed to cope on their own, to feed, soothe, put the baby to sleep, support development, read research, make decisions, manage the home, relationships, work, and their own emotions. And if they need help, it can feel as if they are somehow failing. But if we step out of the noise of modern expectations and look at nature, we see a very different picture. In nature, a mother almost never exists as a completely isolated system. Among elephants, young mothers are surrounded by older females who remember routes, dangers, and paths to water. Among orcas, grandmothers lead families to food and help their adult children survive. Among wolves, pups are raised not by one she-wolf alone, but by the whole family group. Among sperm whales, a mother can dive deep for food because other females stay near the surface and protect her calf. Nature does not ask a mother, "Why can't you handle this alone?"
Nature works differently. It builds a system around the baby. Mother, older females, brothers and sisters, aunties, grandmothers, the group. And today we'll explore why, among the most intelligent social animals, care for offspring is almost always shared. Why older generations become not a burden, but a strategic resource. And why, for humans, the idea, "I have to do this alone," may not be strength, but a dangerous break from our own nature. This is Wild Parenting Lab, and today we're talking about why nature does not believe in loneliness. Let's start with elephants. Their social system is one of the most complex and stable in the wild. An elephant herd is not held together by brute force or random leadership. At the center, there is often an older female, the matriarch. She may not be the fastest, not the youngest, not the physically strongest, but she knows what the others do not.
Imagine a drought. Water holes dry up. The ground cracks. Young female elephants grow anxious. Calves become vulnerable. The herd needs to move, but a wrong route can cost lives. And in moments like this, the deciding factor is not strength. It is memory. The matriarch remembers where water was many years ago. She remembers the paths her own mother once led her along. She remembers dangerous areas. She remembers where humans may pose a threat and where they do not. She remembers routes the younger females have never taken. For the young ones, this is a crisis. For her, it is a situation she has seen before. That is why, in the world of elephants, old age does not mean uselessness. On the contrary, the longer a female lives, the more information she carries. Information the whole group may depend on for survival.
The matriarch is not simply a grandmother in a sentimental sense. She is the living memory of the herd. Her experience becomes a resource for everyone: young mothers, calves, adolescents, and the whole family line. But her role is not limited to roots and water. Elephants are deeply emotional animals. They recognize one another, grieve, support each other, become anxious, calm down, and respond to the emotional state of the group. And the older female often becomes the center of that emotional stability. When she is calm, the herd reads that calm. Young females panic less. Calves feel safer. The group moves with more cohesion. The matriarch does not simply lead the herd physically. She reduces chaos. This matters especially in moments of danger. Elephants can distinguish threats by sound, smell, and vibration. They pick up low-frequency signals, sense movement across great distances, and transmit alarm or calm throughout the group.
You could say the older female hears the world more deeply and earlier than the young ones. She does not guarantee complete safety. Nature never guarantees anything. But she gives the group something essential: direction and a frame. And here another crucial element of elephant upbringing appears: the aunties. In elephant groups, calves are watched over not only by their mothers. Young females who have not yet had calves of their own spend a lot of time near the babies. They play with them, protect them, and learn to respond to their signals. For the calf, this is extra safety. For the mother, it is a chance to eat, rest, and recover. For the young females, it is a school for future motherhood. This is not random help. It is a built-in learning system.
A female elephant does not become a good mother out of nowhere. She learns how to be an adult, not in isolation, but inside the group. When this transmission of experience is broken, the consequences can be severe. Young elephants who grow up without adults, without older females, and without a stable social structure regulate their behavior less well. They may become more anxious, more aggressive, and have a harder time forming normal social bonds. It is not enough to be born an elephant. An elephant has to learn how to be an elephant. And this is one of the main lessons elephants offer us.
Motherhood is not only instinct, it is also the transmission of experience. A young mother needs more than information from books and research. She needs a living environment where she can see how others cope, how others get tired, how others soothe, how others make mistakes and still remain good mothers. Now, let's move into the ocean. Orcas are among the few animals, along with humans, who experience menopause. A female can live for decades after she stops giving birth. From a simple reproductive point of view, this seems strange. If the main goal is to leave offspring, why would nature keep a female who no longer reproduces? But with orcas, the answer becomes clear.
An orca grandmother is a carrier of experience. She knows the routes. She knows where to find food. She knows how fish behavior changes from year to year. She knows where to lead the family when familiar food sources disappear. Orca families do not simply live in groups. They have culture. An orca is born into the culture of its family, and older females become the keepers of that culture.
Their role becomes especially important during food shortages. When salmon or other familiar prey becomes scarce, it is often the older females who lead the group. They remember alternative routes and old feeding grounds. What feels uncertain to the young may be familiar territory to them. Here, the grandmother is not a decoration of the family. She is a strategist. For an adult male, the death of his mother is not only an emotional loss, it is the loss of orientation, protection, and a social center.
This fact challenges the familiar idea that full independence is the peak of adulthood. In nature, maturity does not always mean separation into loneliness. For social animals, maturity often means being able to remain part of the group while taking your own place within it. Menopause in this system is not the end of value, it is a change of role. The female no longer invests her energy in her own pregnancies and calves. Instead,
her energy and experience begin to work for the whole family line: children, grandchildren, adult sons, young mothers. For the human story, there is a very precise lesson here. The older generation is not needed in order to command the young. Its strength lies in memory, steadiness, and the ability to see beyond one current crisis.
When a grandmother becomes not a controller, but a carrier of experience, she becomes a resource. When her experience helps rather than suppresses, the family becomes more stable. When a young mother can lean on the older generation without losing her own boundaries, the whole system benefits. Orcas show us this. In complex families, survival does not belong only to the one who gives birth. It belongs to the one who remembers, teaches, and leads. Now let's move into the forest. For a long time, wolves were described through the idea of a rigid hierarchy: alpha male, struggle for dominance, submission through force. This image became deeply rooted in popular culture. But observations of wild wolves show a more nuanced picture. A wolf pack is usually not a random group of rivals. It is a family, a parental pair.
Pups are not raised by one she-wolf alone. Yes, the mother plays a key role, especially in the first weeks. But as the pups grow, other family members become involved in their care. Older brothers and sisters may guard the den, play with the younger ones, bring food, help pups learn the rules of the group. Play in a wolf pack is not just entertainment, it is learning. In play, pups test bite strength, learn to stop, understand body signals, distinguish threat from play, learn boundaries.
Older pups and adolescents become living training partners for the younger ones. They are not perfect babysitters. They are learning too. But that is exactly what matters. Care for the younger ones is built into the growing up of the older ones. The pack distributes the load not only for the sake of the baby, but also for the sake of future adults. A young wolf who cares for younger pups learns patience, signals, responsibility, and regulation of force. This experience will later help in its own parental role. Wolves do not have the idea that the parental pair should be the only source of every function. In a pack, there are different roles. Someone hunts better. Someone guards better. Someone plays more actively. Someone softens tension. Someone notices danger first. The system works not because everyone is the same, but because roles are distributed.
This is an important contrast to the human expectation that a mother should often be everything at once: the source of food, sleep, play, development, safety, emotional regulation, and household management. In nature, such a concentration of functions in one individual is rare among complex social species. The more complex the animal, the more important the group becomes. The mother is central, but she is not the whole world. A child learns not only through one bond. A child learns through a network of relationships. And the human conclusion here can be very simple. Help does not take the mother's role away. It relieves that role of the impossible demand to be everything at once. When there is a father, a grandmother, an older child, a friend, a nanny, a neighbor, or another adult who can be safe and predictable, the child does not lose the mother. The child receives a wider world. And the mother gets a chance not to disappear inside a single function.
Among wolves, it is not the most independent pup that survives, and not the most heroic mother. It is the family where care is shared.
Now we have looked at 3 examples: elephants, orcas, wolves. But in nature, there are many more versions of the same principle. Different species build different systems around the young, and in each case, shared care has its own function. One especially striking example is sperm whales. A sperm whale mother may dive deep for food, while her calf stays near the surface. The calf cannot follow her into those depths. It is still too young to make such long, deep dives and must remain closer to the air above. It survives not because the mother never leaves, but because other females remain near the surface and hold safety around it. Here, the group makes something possible that would be almost impossible for one mother alone: to go for resources and still keep the baby protected.
And again, we see the same principle. The young do not grow beside one mother alone. They grow inside a system. Among elephants, that system is held by the memory of the matriarch. Among orcas, by the experience of grandmothers. Among wolves, by the family pack. Among sperm whales, by the group that protects the calf while the mother goes for resources. In all of these stories, the mother matters. But she is not alone. And that is what makes the system stable. Nature does not devalue the mother when it gives her helpers. It protects her from overload, and it protects the group from losing the experience it needs to survive.
Humans often see help as something extra. Nice to have, but not essential. Nature sees it differently. For social species, help is not a bonus. It is part of the structure. So the problem is not that the mother is not strong enough. The problem may be that the system around her is too thin. And here we come to humans. Humans are social animals too. Our children are born deeply dependent. They need years of protection, learning, emotional attunement, and care. From a biological point of view, it is almost impossible to carry all of this with one pair of hands. And yet modern culture often builds exactly this model around the mother. You must manage everything at once. An expert in sleep, feeding, development, attachment, safety, and the emotions of the whole family. We have more information than ever, but often less living support. A mother can know 10 approaches to baby sleep, but have no adult who will let her sleep. She can understand attachment theory, but have no one supporting her own nervous system. She can read about emotional regulation while living in constant exhaustion. And then she begins to think the problem is her. She is tired and thinks she is weak, angry and thinks she is bad, wants silence and thinks she is selfish, asks for help and feels guilty. But through the logic of nature, the picture changes. Maybe the issue is not that the mother is failing. Maybe she is trying to do the work of an entire pack. But it is important not to romanticize the pack. Not every relative is safe. Not every kind of help actually helps. Sometimes help comes with control, criticism, anxiety, or intrusion. So we do not simply need more people around. We need relationships where boundaries are respected. A good pack is not made of people who know the right way to live. It is made of people around whom a mother can breathe more easily. This is why just ask for help is not enough. The real question is, what kind of help makes the system lighter, and what kind only adds another burden?
And yes, not everyone has a large family, a warm grandmother, an involved partner, or money for a nanny. That is why the phrase, "find your pack," can sound beautiful, but painful. A pack does not always appear as a whole village. Sometimes it is built from small, specific bonds. One person who can walk with the stroller for an hour. One friend who can bring food without staying too long. One grandmother who can support without taking over. One partner who stops helping and becomes part of the care. One safe adult is not the whole village, but it is already less loneliness. A pack does not have to be perfect to be saving. Maybe our task today is not to become even stronger alone, but to remember how to build connection.
To ask without shame, to receive without feeling like we have failed, to say no where help turns into control, and to gather around the child not a perfect picture, but a living system of support. Because nature does not believe in loneliness. Again and again, it shows us life continues where there is connection. Welcome to Wild Parenting Lab. We are here to remember together who we really are. You are not alone. Behind you are 4 billion years of evolutionary wisdom.